joining. For anyone who doesn't know me, although I think I pretty much know everybody here, my name is Becky Caldwell, and I am the Executive Director of the Virginia Highlands Festival. And I am speaking on behalf of the board so that we have a nice streamlined presentation. I so greatly appreciate that y'all took the time to join us today, to register for this and to join us, because your input is so important. We recognize the role that the festival plays in our community, and especially financially and culturally and historically, and the festival is a much beloved tradition. So thank you for gifting us with your time. I am going to screen share and excuse me. Let's just hope this works. Let's see here, this one. Okay, we're gonna go into, ta-da, look at that. Here we are. A bit of housekeeping as we get started. The meeting is being recorded. Goodness, excuse me. The meeting is being recorded, and I am keeping people muted, keeping everyone muted while I go through this initial presentation. And then because we will have I anticipate a bunch of people in here. Once I'm done with this part, I will stop screen sharing, switch back to a full screen of Zoom participants. And then if you, my hope is that all of you will want to comment and offer suggestions and your thoughts. And then if you, when that moment comes, if you could just like literally raise your hand and I'll unmute you. And that way we can keep this as clean as possible. The outline of what we're going to do today is I'm going to present our current challenges. I'll present the options we've explored so far. I'll present some proposed changes, and then I'll open it up to comments. Our role as board members is to listen to you, unless there's a specific question that you want one of us to answer. I can see some of you, so if that sounds good, please give me a nod or a thumbs up. Or okay, great, thanks. I saw your thumbs up, Greg. Thank you. Okay. Current challenges. This is one of my favorite pictures I've found to represent this. We are the sheep on that rock between two other big rocks. Our current challenges are, well, are like many other organizations right now, are plenty. We have plenty of challenges. The first and foremost is revenue. That our revenues are like everybody else, way down because of COVID-19, but also because of other reasons. For those of you who don't know where our money comes from, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware we are not a program of the town of Abingdon. We're not their responsibility. As such, we are also not funded by them. And like I think every other organization in Abingdon for the coming fiscal year, we are 100% not funded by them. That includes in kind. So the town would do a lot for us in kind that they would not be doing for us in the coming fiscal year. And that's things like setting up some tents, putting out our flags, blocking streets, providing extra police protection, and setting up, loaning us and setting up the stage, extra trash pickup, things that we would now have to pay for. the way that we bring in our money, our budget looks like is we get roughly 1/3 of our revenue from ticket sales and admission fees. We get 1/3 from booth fees for the arts and crafts show and the antique show. And then we get about 1/3, actually a little bit less than 1/3 of our money from contributions. So contributions would be individual donations, sponsorships, grants from the VCA, a grant from the town of Abingdon, grants from the VTC, from basically anywhere we can get grant funding, we pursue it. And those revenues, I mean, obviously this year we're not getting any revenues from booth fees or sponsorships, because sponsorships are essentially marketing for the companies that sponsor us, and we've got nothing for them to be present at until later this year with Plein Air Abingdon. We even had one of our patrons ask for their patron donation back. So this is sort of the financial landscape we're looking at right now. I came across recently an audit from, I think it was the 2006 festival. And that year, the festival ended the year about $150,000 in the black. Like, how amazing, right? And this past year we ended, I want to say definitely not in the black. It was about $10,000 in the red. So our financial situation has changed a lot. Speaking of the revenues from booth fees, we've noticed that, and this is sort of like a global thing that probably you've noticed too, and the antiques show used to really be the thing that carried the festival in terms of revenue. I mean, like the antique show paid for basically everything else we did. And between booth fees from antiques and arts and crafts, that's how we had that beautiful, juicy reserve fund. And now antiques are not as popular as they used to be. People are not buying them. We've lost many dealers due to attrition. We've lost audiences. It's not the revenue stream in terms of booth fees that we need it to be. And some of that was due to last year's, we had not a great year for marketing last year, but I don't want to discount the global changes we're seeing in terms of the landscape of antique shows. Where we are seeing a potential for an increase is in arts and crafts. People love the handmade, they love the one of a kind, and I think we would love to be able to increase our arts and crafts presence. Okay. Continuing down my list of challenges, let's see. Oh, the last little bit is that exit 17 is going to be under construction starting next summer. And that's going to be challenging, especially for people heading in. It's the northbound ramps that are going to be redone. So anyone coming from the Tri-Cities, which is a major audience source for us, is going to have a hard time. Those are our challenges. Okay, now here are some options that we have discussed either recently, as in a couple weeks ago, or over the last few days, and things that we have looked into in the past, the recent past, as in like about over the past 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years. To put it in perspective, I've been here with the festival for 8.5 years. So some options we've considered: Latcher Field. This is what you're looking at right now. It is the satellite picture of Latcher Field. Here's the field. And we looked at moving the whole festival to Latcher Field. So we would have the crafts and antiques and concerts and everything right here, food vendors. The reasons why we chose not to pursue that is it doesn't alleviate our parking problem. You can see a lot of small parking lots along here. A lot of those would not be available to us during the day. And so parking would be a major issue. Also, to load in, I think there's a way sort of on this north section to load in, and then right down here, but load in was going to be challenging, especially for our antique dealers who tend to arrive with very large trucks of furniture. The other reason we chose not to pursue Latcher Field is power. There are lights along the field, but there is only one source of power to plug in, and to install power up and down the field was going to cost about $35,000. And then the last reason is Pee Wee football, that we were concerned that there would not be enough time to reseed and for the grass to take root in the field right after the festival. The other thing that we talked about was spreading out along Main Street, and that's something that's been suggested by our audiences. They want that feel of you get into town and you see everywhere that there's a festival. The last few years, we have attempted that. We have the craft show back at the Barter Square or Barter Green, and we had youth programs at the Humphreys Park on Main Street, just across from the post office. There have been vendors in the Fields Pen lawn, and we had some author programs at Anthony's Desserts. And what we found is that people don't want to walk down there. They want to go to the craft show and have everything be in one place. So I feel we've tried that. It's not really working. And so what we're finding is that we're landlocked into the Barter Green. That to spread out from there, there's really no place for us to go. We have recently also spoken with, and just to kind of give everybody background, we've spoken with the William King Museum of Art, the Arts Depot, the Barter Theater, and the Martha. And the Martha has unequivocally told us that we will not be allowed on their lawn. So there is truly no hope of expanding there. With Exit 17 construction, we will not be allowed to close Main Street for any reason. And frankly, the police in recent years have very, very strongly preferred that we not ever close it. If you don't know this, Main Street is the alternate route to 81 if there's an accident on the highway. So these are the options we've considered. None of these have been particularly exciting or frankly doable. So here's what we're proposing. Here is what I would love your reaction to. Our proposal, given that we have this gift of a pause this year and we're not producing the big summer festival this year, our thought was that what if we moved the entire festival out here to the Virginia Highlands Community College campus? That is the satellite image you're looking at right now. So we would have, for example, up at the college, we would have all of our lectures and workshops, hands-on workshops, symposia, theater performances. Down here at the Higher Ed Center, we would have the Antiques Show and the Arts and Crafts Show. We are proposing moving the Antiques Show indoors to the Higher Ed Center. It is a beautiful location. The challenge to us there is that it will cut our available space in half, actually a little bit more than half. What that does do for us, though, is it gives us an opportunity to be super picky about the antique dealers we bring in. It'll be a very high quality show and a very comfortable shopping experience for our audiences. And then we would put the craft show where the antiques market used to be in this field over here, kind of to the right of the Higher Ed Center. And that offers virtually unlimited space for us to expand our crafts show. Then we would put concerts and culinary and those more sort of celebratory fun things up at the Southwest Virginia Cultural Center and Marketplace. I think I got that whole name right. And so we have a lot of benefits to moving out here. Number one, parking. Parking is super easy and everything would be in one location. The Higher Ed Center alone has over 500 parking spaces available that we could use. Ease of access. I know that for the crafts show, we have lost a lot of our older audiences because at the Barter Green, the land is uneven and it's hard for people to look at things when they also have to look at where they're walking. It'll be easier for us to program for audience flow so that we're not competing with ourselves. One of the ideas I put forth to the board was that what if we did all of our lectures and workshops in the mornings at the college, and then we open up the marketplace for the afternoon and into the early evening, which would offer our audiences the opportunity to come after work, which we've been hearing a lot about. People want to be able to come after they get off of work. And then in the evenings, we have all of our fun stuff and performances out here at the Cultural Center. This also offers us the ability to offer a single festival ticket that would get people into everything that we do, sort of that one-stop shopping. This gives us access to new funding opportunities. Last year, we had a partnership with the Higher Ed Center, and they were our fiscal sponsor on a grant that helped us pay for the Wolf Crystal project. I see more opportunities like that if we were to be out here. And I think probably one of the biggest benefits is that all three of these institutions want us. They want us bad. They really, really want us out there. And they are willing to work with us to make that happen in a way that we can be sustainable and still frankly exist for our community. Now, we are very aware of our roots, our very deep roots in downtown Abingdon, and we don't want to sever that connection. That's why we've been talking to so many people before making this decision. Some of the ways that we were thinking that we could maintain our connection to downtown would be to offer incentives to visit downtown shops before coming to the festival. So for example, what if we said, hey, here's your passport, and reverse it. So rather than, come to the festival and then take your festival ticket to, let's say, the Pepper Mill for a free appetizer. Oh, no, go to the Pepper Mill for dinner and then you get a free festival ticket. So they go downtown first. We were talking just yesterday in a brainstorm about working with local churches to provide shuttles that would take people from the festival to downtown and offer them a way to solicit donations. So it'd be a donate to ride situation. We could showcase downtown businesses out at the festival grounds. This is a great opportunity for a return to the taste of Abingdon or the taste of Main Street that so many people have talked about. And we would continue to partner with our downtown cultural institutions and businesses on events throughout the year. Not the least of which a reason to do that is it's a requirement for our general operating funds from the VCA that we have year-round programming. But we find that also that visibility that gives us is important to being able to have that big splash that we do in the summer. So those are just a few of our thoughts that we've been mulling over for the past couple of months, ever since we had to cancel the summer's festival. I now want to open it up to the group, to all of you. And again, I ask that board members please stay muted so that we can, our role here is to listen to the public, to our public, and listen to their reactions, suggestions, questions, comments, anything that might pop up. So I'm now going to stop screen sharing and do a full screen view. And I think I can see everybody. So if anybody would like to speak, just kind of wave at the screen. I can see you. Although I do see some people on phones. So you know, here's what I'll do. I am going to unmute everyone who I can tell is not a board member. I'll go ahead and unmute you. And if you could just be conscious of everybody who might want to say something. Or I'm trying to unmute, but I can't, I guess it's not really. Am I unmuting? I think I'm unmuting. Chris, oh, hey, Chris Cannon. Chad Thompson, I'm trying to unmute you. Karen Moore, I'm trying to unmute you. And what I guess what I could do is also call on people to get your feedback. So, you know, I'm going to start with Greg Lilly.
Well, I guess my biggest concern is getting people downtown, because that is, you know, what I always thought of the Highlands Festival was downtown Abington. That's the vibe. That's the atmosphere. But I completely understand the reasoning to move it to the Highlands Community College and all that area. It makes perfect sense. So I would just hope that there would be a way to reinforce that connection with downtown, however possible. That's my biggest concern.
Thank you so much, Greg. Mary Lee Snuffer. Hi, lady. How are you?
Hi, how's everyone?
Good, good.
It's good to see everybody. I think what you proposed sounds very, very exciting, but my history is not as long as I wish it were. I think we've only been doing it probably 15 years. And it was after the downtown scenario, but people always talked about downtown. From the standpoint of being an antique vendor, of course, indoors is always preferable for us, but there is a certain flavor to the outside, but I think that having the crafts outside lends itself to that. I think that I personally would like to see more socializing in the evenings for your customers. I know the breakfast is something that everybody looks forward to, and that's a certain audience of those people that, you know, do the breakfast. But I think you need to expand your horizons here and try to capture the business of young people who are most of the time working and do want to go out in the evenings and have social experiences in addition to the buying opportunities. I want to disagree with you with regards to antiques. Antiques are not certainly what, and the business is certainly not what it used to be 20 or 30 years ago. But I have to tell you, all the big major markets like Texas draws over almost 300,000 people in a 1 month period to that market. I mean, people come from everywhere. Additionally, you know, some of the other really big shows, and your show was once considered one of the big shows. So I think it's a matter of trying to decide. I understand wanting to manage your quality. So you want to be picky about who comes in as an antique dealer, but it still isn't a show that a lot of people come from out of town. The history is still there. One of my biggest customers last year came from Mississippi, and last year was not a real strong year. So I was real happy to see that gentleman who happened to be in the area and wanted to come to the show because he had been there before. So I think it's a matter of the committee, you know, harnessing the energy that you know has been effective from the past. I'm happy to see that you're trying to put it all together because there's a lot to be gained from all of us being in one spot, I think.
Thank you so much, Mary Lee. And
You're welcome.
I really appreciate your input. Thank you. I see someone I was able to unmute somebody who is on a phone. The phone number last 4 digits is 1289. Do you want to introduce yourself and say something?
Sure. This is Nicole from Abingdon Main Street. I was having issues with Zoom, so I wasn't able to dial in with audio. But I did notice in the comments that Hannah Ingram was asking if she could go next because she had to leave. So if you could go to her before I'll speak.
Hi, I'm on the hot spot in my car before I go to a doctor's appointment. I'm so sorry, but I didn't want to miss it. I wanted to know, Becky, if there's any data associated with like surveys and stuff from people who have attended the festival in past years, particularly with the move from the Green down to Rendsburg Drive. I know you said people don't want to walk places. I'd love to hear more about that. But if there's feedback gotten from people who show up to the festival, that move, it's all hearsay, wasn't great. And then we brought back to the Barter Green, but I don't understand the data and survey about what made it not great. And is this doing more of the same by changing a loyal location, or are we offsetting with whatever we've learned? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. Yes, we've done audience surveys. So when I arrived, it was on Remsburg, and it was the last year that we had a 16-day festival. And on Remsburg, what people liked about it was the accessibility of being on pavement. What they hated and like vehemently hated, and we got earfuls of this, that it was hot and it did not have that same the same feel as being on the lawn at the Martha and at the Barter Green. So when we moved back to the Barter Green, people rejoiced. They were thrilled. We were thrilled. We got to enjoy the barter audiences walking through our show and buying things, and so that has been a wonderful experience for us. Where it has been less than stellar is in parking and accessibility for handicapped patrons and older patrons, and in that we are extremely limited, and we had to cut back by almost half the number of vendors we could accept into the show. So our thought is, okay, people like when it's in a grassy area that's not too hot, has a pretty feel to it. We would love to stay, if we could, we would love to stay on the Barter Green because everyone loves that. It's the nostalgia of it. And if this town is powered by anything, it is powered by nostalgia and tradition. We just don't see how we can do it and make money and be sustainable as an organization. So hopefully by putting it out at the college, it would be on a fairly even, a nice flat, it's been graded area, and there are trees and a plethora of indoor restrooms and parking is very easy, and it is very readily accessible for people with disabilities. What I don't have for you is hard data, like actual numbers of people. So what I'm sharing with you is more anecdotal that we've received written in surveys. But does that answer your question?
She said thank you in the chat. She may have had to step off.
Nicole, do you want to go ahead and share your thoughts
Sure.
with us?
My biggest concern coming from, being the director for Abingdon Main Street is that we're not harming the local businesses. Already, this has been an incredibly challenging year. And, I'm hearing from people all the time that they're concerned if they're going to be able to make it through, all of these restrictions and people not spending money. And, we're in a recession already. This decrease in foot traffic downtown, I worry about that happening. And I'm trying to figure out ways that, it kind of sounds like you guys are already really interested in moving. And you definitely have to do what you have to do to keep your organization going. I totally understand that. It's just a matter of trying to mitigate any potential damage that not having that foot traffic would cause.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely interested in working with Abingdon Main Street and Main Street shops. On that, we don't want to harm anybody either. We don't want to harm the town. We don't want to, that's not what we're here for. And the connection with downtown is an important one to us. If there was a way to keep the festival downtown and still exist as an organization, that would be our first choice. If anyone sees a way to keep it downtown, please speak up. Wave your hand, I can unmute you. I see Casey St. Louis is here. Casey, hi, thank you for joining us.
Hi there, sorry, had customers.
Oh, well, that's good news.
Yeah.
We like that.
Yep, always like that. Keeps my doors open.
Excellent.
But I know I missed stuff. You can fill me in after everybody drops off.
Okay, I'm happy to, Casey. Chad Thompson. I keep trying to unmute you, but I can't. It's not working for some reason. And Chris Cannon, if you would like to unmute yourself, if there's anything you'd like to add.
Hey, can you see me?
Yes.
Hey, sorry I'm looking a little rough today. We're working on cleaning up the cultural center to get it reopened. So I am a little disheveled at the moment. So sorry to be not looking my best. But yeah, so I'm Chris Cannon. I'm the executive director of Friends of Southwest Virginia and Round the Mountain, which we operate the Southwest Virginia Cultural Center and Marketplace, formerly the Heartwood, on exit 14 and part of the campus of what you're talking about. And I'll just say that we're excited about your potential plans, about all the conversations you're having, and completely supportive of it. I think I speak on behalf of my counterparts at the Higher Ed Center and at the community college, and really excited to see the energy of this festival come back and return with renewed vision and strength. This is a legendary festival that I remember going to when I was 3 and 4 years old. And it's evolved since then, and I think this is an exciting opportunity to make some exciting progress. And just speaking from the perspective of someone who is operating a facility at exit 14, we constantly run a visitor center here at the Cultural Center, and we're constantly pushing people downtown. But I think it's really exciting too to see the town and the festival rally around exit 14. Because it is a part of the town of Abingdon too, and to see some energy and to see some economic development and some economic activity come towards this end of town is very exciting and a really good opportunity. So overall, very supportive of everything y'all are doing, and happy to support y'all however we can.
Thank you. I'm sure some of our board may have questions for all of you who are attending. So I'm going to invite, basically, let's just open it up. Everyone who would like to unmute, and let's just have an open discussion now, and try and be mindful the best we can in a digital environment of speaking over each other. But go ahead and unmute, and let's talk.
Becky, we didn't hear from Karen Moore. Is she there?
Karen posted in the chat that she's here to listen only. She has an older computer with no microphone or camera. However, we did talk to Karen a couple days ago. Karen and with I think it was Jackie Dalp, one of the artists at the Depot, and they were understanding of what we might need to do. If you have a specific question for her though, go ahead and ask it, and then she can type in chat her answer. Ben, did you have a question you wanted to ask her?
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I just saw her name there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mary Lee.
My question might be a little premature, but would the festival stay as a 9 or 10-day festival for all of the vendors? And as opposed to, I think the arts and crafts had different time frames than the antiques. Is that correct? I'm not sure.
Well, I think our goal would be to have the whole festival happen all at the same time, and to so that there wouldn't be like crafts. What you're referring to is when crafts would open a day before the antique show,
Right.
and we would want everything to happen all at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Chad Thompson, I see your face now. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I finally found the unmute button. It was on a different screen. I'm running 2 different monitors, and I didn't see it pop up a minute ago. But it's nice to hear from you today. I like that you guys are putting a lot of time into planning. I can tell you definitely have had a lot of struggles to overcome. I know we have at the Cultural Center. And for everybody that doesn't know me, I'm the new marketing manager at the Southwest Virginia Cultural Center. And I just wanted to throw in a couple things today that I think that, it could be a very positive move to try that with the space, having all the amenities for everybody there. And I think with the proper amount of creativity and marketing, you could really see being able to get people to move to different parts of the town. Because, a lot of times when you go to events like this, people do like to kind of start to spread out and kind of, move around from the different areas. So that might be a way you could try to push them into the downtown district so they can do that shopping and see different things that Abingdon has to offer. And, Abingdon's a very creative township and community, especially like what the Barter did out at the Moonlight. That was a very creative and innovative thing when, you thought that all hope was lost and that we wouldn't be able to go to the Barter. Now they've come up with this new idea. And maybe, that's something the Highlands Festival could look into as well, as finding these innovative ways to get people moving around the town. So I think it'd be great.
Thank you. Well, I specifically want to call out Ryan Henderson, who has always had really great questions. He and Dee Dee have been present at all of our small group meetings. And Ryan?
Yes.
Do you have any questions for this new crop of people?
I guess a question for, maybe it'd be for anybody here, but especially for those of y'all on Main Street specifically. What kind of, I guess either both traditionally and in recent history, what kind of impact have you found the festival to have on your institution, on your business? Has it been traditionally positive? What has the more recent years been? And if you could speak to that, what kind of an impact would that be, if you have an idea, should the festival move to a different location?
Casey, can you answer that?
For me, it doesn't really seem to make too much of a difference one way or the other, but I opened in 2011, and it's busy in the summertime. There's tourists that come and go. My numbers don't necessarily go up or go down, but it's in August, or right there, right? Usually the first week in August. And so I don't know if it weren't going on, if there wouldn't be business during that time, because I do start to see a slowdown towards my numbers kind of show towards the end of July. And I think that's because people are out at the lake, or they're, enjoying their gardens and their homes. But definitely there's a big difference between my Abingdon store and my Kingsport store. And it's very noticeable now during the whole COVID thing that Abingdon is a lot to do with tourists.
Thank you for that, Casey.
If it moves out to the higher ed, I think I sent this in a survey that probably Becky got, where when I would compare it to the Mistletoe Market. Mistletoe Market is a really good weekend. It's a good fundraiser for William King. People come on to my shop because I only have like maybe 8 things that they can purchase there. And there's some other things that they want. So they will make the effort and drive on into Abingdon. Is that true of somebody like Necessities? If they're set up at Mistletoe, do they then go on into the shop? Or Geraldine's, I know they're closed now. I think that's the name of it, right? The yard stuff. Would they go on into Abingdon because they're at Mistletoe? I really don't think a lot of people would do that like they do me, because they're looking for something even more specific. So in the same regard, if it's out in, I think the goal with the Highlands Festival is to bring people to Abingdon in general and to all that Abingdon has to offer. So if it's out at the higher ed versus in town, the idea is to then direct people on to all the other things that Abingdon has to offer. And as far as for the festival, there's been so much conversation on how hot it was when it was down by the farmers market. That was a big situation those first couple years. And then when it got moved back to the green, I remembered it when I used to live in Abingdon 40 years ago. That it was up on what's now the Barter Green, and everybody loved it, but they were complaining if it was rainy, then it would get muddy. I think that the antique owners, word I understood was they really liked it when it was moved because they had air conditioning and it wasn't so hot. So I think that's an advantage. But as far as for festival goers, it's not outdoors, so it doesn't feel like a festival, but it's also hotter and hotter every summer. So I think people really appreciate going indoors for that kind of a thing. That doesn't really, give you a good answer one way or the other. It's going to go back to marketing. How well is it marketed, and how well people direct them from there on in to the Abingdon restaurants and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But even when it was on the green last year, if people came down to our shop, it was because I had Olivia or Olive and people out there handing out fans on Main Street. And it was the fans that then like FANS that you cool yourself off with, that kind of a fan. They'd get the fan and then that would say, oh, let's go down and check out the shop because they're there already. So I'm a little bit different of a scenario than others.
Sure. Thank you, Casey. And you can only speak to what, your own experience, and thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Nicole, I'm interested to hear maybe I know you're kind of new to the position, but I was wondering if maybe you have any thoughts on that.
Sure. We did quite a few surveys when I first took this position back in January, and it seems like it's a mixed bag, and I had spoke to Becky about it. And it seems like it does mirror some of the surveys and data that she was getting of the festival helps some people, hurts some people, some are indifferent. So it's one of those, you're not going to please everybody all the time, no matter what you do. And having worked in, tourism for Abingdon for years and years, I can agree with Casey, when it was at Remsburg, people complained about it being too hot. When it was at Barter Green, it was too muddy. So I definitely see that there's going to be pros and cons to everything. And Abingdon is definitely fueled by nostalgia. And I think that what I've been hearing from people, businesses downtown and, residents alike, is more that they're saying, oh, we want it downtown, but they want it like it was in the mid-90s. when there were things going on in the Barter Green, when things were going on at the Martha, when all of the businesses and homes and things like that allowed people to put tents in their yard. So it was more walkable because you weren't having to walk far to find something to do. Where things are broken up a little bit more, and you've got, this is happening at the Barter Green, and then there's not a whole lot of festival, in between that and the farmer's market. So I can see, where it would make more sense to have it all in one location. It's just a matter of figuring out how we can partner to make sure that, we don't see the losses of foot traffic and pushing people around the town and stuff too.
Yeah, that's
So-
a great observation. Thank you. Sorry, Casey, go ahead.
So if it's out at the higher ed center, have you talked about then buses that would, I know the trolley cars were sold or whatever, but that would have been cool for people to be able to hop on that and go into town and then hop back out to the parking on out. Out at the higher ed center, the parking situation would be taken care of. But did I miss that part of the conversation to be able to bus people into town?
Oh, yes, we would offer shuttle service into town. And we were talking, this kind of came up when we were talking with Katie Brown yesterday, that, what if we offered specifically, shuttle service in time to see your barter show, and at specific times of day. And then we thought, oh, what if we worked with the churches? Because I know the Presbyterian Church right there on Pecan Street and Main Street makes money from people parking in their lot. Well, what if the churches, we worked with them to have church vans, and those are air conditioned, and then they could ask for a donation for a ride. So there may be an opportunity there. Or maybe I don't know, but we definitely would want to provide some sort of way for people to go from the festival grounds into downtown. Maybe we get the Links to work with us again. There are a lot of, maybe we get pedal taverns from, get a shipment of pedal taverns from Nashville, and people can just ride on in with a margarita. I don't know. That's probably not possible. But I want to open us up to what this might make possible for us now. It's sort of like a sad end of an era to leave downtown. But then, what does it make possible for us moving forward, and to be that visionary festival that we were when we started? Dee Dee, did you have something you wanted to share?
Accidentally unmuted myself. I think I was just excited. In all of our conversations, we've had small group meetings with Barter and the Martha and the Arts Depot and William King, and all of our small group conversations, at front and foremost is driving people back into the downtown area. I think it's so hard to understand, and even for me, why the festival is not spread out anymore, and why it's not possible, or not in the same place is what I meant to say, and why it's not possible for it to be as it was at that point in time again. And it really took talking to the gals from the Martha who were super awesome. They were super fantastic. And just hearing in a non-confrontational way of kind of what, from their perspective, why things evolved the way they did, and that we're not there on the green anymore. So, we are going to great lengths to talk to many people to see how this would impact them. So far, it's been a wash. It's just been a total wash, that it wouldn't impact them greatly in one direction or the other. But what I see is the opportunity, and I'll just say this and then I'll be quiet. The opportunity possibly, if partnering with downtown and shuttling and making packages. Like the gals from the Martha were super pumped about the idea of making packages where you go, you can go to the festival, then you can shuttle to Barter, and you can come eat at the sisters, and to do those types of things creates the energy that we need for town and for the festival. Now I'm going to mute myself.
Any other comments, questions, comments?
I just have one final comment, and that has to do with the vendors and asking the downtown restaurants or businesses to offer incentives to the participants. I know, how many dealers you have, and most of them go out to the exit where there's a lot of restaurants. But I'm certain that if some of them said 10% off of your check, your sales check or something, they possibly would come downtown and have dinner. I know that when they used to have the big event at night downtown, it was like the big party thing. A lot of the dealers used to go downtown for that. So other than that, I don't hear too many dealers saying that they go downtown.
That's a good point. And that's maybe a little bit of an untapped market for our Main Street is we do get a couple hundred between the antique dealers and the craft vendors, 200 to 300 people, sort of a captive audience.
It is just a thought. I know that occasionally people go to the tavern and then my husband and I like Rain. I hope it's still there. And, but I do think that if there's some little perk that might get people to possibly venture downtown after the end of the day.
Thank you.
There is that couple that was trying to put together, and I think COVID stopped them in their tracks to do the town tour of the restaurants. You remember what that is, Becky, what I'm talking about?
I don't know who was putting that together.
It's a couple. I can probably find it back in my notes. Okay. But yeah, they were talking about doing very similar to like the ghost walks, only it was to a tasting tour, which happens in a lot of the big cities now. Yep. And I think they were coming from Charlotte or somewhere. So to tap into them, to bring people, if it's out, to bring them on into town, work through them, because they were connecting with all the different restaurants in town and with myself to bring people into my spot.
Neat. Yeah, if you could shoot me their information.
Yeah.
It wasn't Dave Dalton, was it?
That doesn't sound right.
Okay.
But I don't have the best of memories, but they came out with studies that olive oil reverses Alzheimer's and dementia. So I'm swigging it down for everybody, just so you know. I'm using it.
Thank you. All right. Well, if no one else has any questions or comments or thoughts, please feel free to email me. Our email is info@vahighlandsfestival.org. That's really the best way to get a hold of me. I would love to hear because once I hit end, I'm sure in another 30 minutes or so, your brain's going to be like, ooh, and another thing. So please send me your other things, and that way we can compile all of this into something that will work for the most people, and at least most importantly to me, keep the festival a viable, thriving, relevant institution for another 72 years minimum. All right. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Bye.